right, so happy Pride, everybody.
Happy Pride.
Happy Pride. This is the last weekend of Pride. So here we are recording today. This episode is being released on June 30th, the last day of Pride.
Oh.
So it was a fun month of Pride, huh? It's with a lot of good things happening this month. Anything happened this week worth noting that you guys had fun? Interesting story, but I want to hear what happened with your week, Tony, Kendall.
Well, I did read this interesting article where the president of the Philippines a couple weeks ago said that he used to be gay, but his
wait, he used to be gay?
Yes, because
was it that gay conversion
Thomas used to be straight?
Yeah.
No, actually what cured him was his ex-wife almost cured him. He was a little bit gay after that, but then between his ex-wife
she made him gay.
And his current partner, he's fully cured. And he even quoted, "Two beautiful wives cured me. I hated handsome men afterwards."
Two beautiful wives.
Wait, I think the kicker
so that's
is
all
that,
I need.
I think the kicker is that ending statement. I hated handsome men after that.
So he has a fetish for ugly men.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well.
He would love me. I would turn him gay again. Then.
So that's how the president of the Philippines is celebrating Pride.
Oh, good for him. He turned
He
straight.
used to be gay. Okay, my theory is he is about to have a scandal come out. So
yes.
if pictures or something, rumors come out, he'd be like, "Well, I used to be
and
gay."
he did immediately. So he basically was in Tokyo giving a speech to the Filipino people. And that's when he mentioned this. And then he immediately, there's some senator that's kind of anti him and may run against him or something. And so he immediately said, but, this senator is gay.
Well, I used to be gay until our president was elected. Now I'm straight.
DJT
I am too looking at
has
that.
had quite the month. He's
the Mushroom King.
The Mushroom King.
With the mushroom.
There was an article out recently that a new rape accusation that came out today from the New York Times.
Fake news.
Fake news. Well, that's obviously.
Of course, he already has. He says he's never met her.
Never
right.
met her. Yeah.
So that makes 16 women.
But his lawyers have paid her off, I'm sure.
Yeah. I'm
Right.
waiting for the story to come out where some woman had an abortion because, from him.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah. Because then it's like, oh, well, but.
Or a
I know
kid
3
like
women
Arnold
that should
Schwarzenegger.
Oh man, yeah. That she.
Well, Chris Pratt just married one of Arnold's kids, and I haven't read yet if it's the maid's wife, the maid's kid.
The maid's kid.
Although I doubt it.
No,
I think the maid's kid is young, right?
No, it's actually Katherine Schwarzenegger, and she's young. She's about 12 or so, I think.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought.
No, Chris Pratt's very Christian.
He is. Yeah, he's wearing that on the sleeve, which is good. Good for him. Like, I think that's good. I mean, because he's not like a super uber conservative. He's
So he's not a real Christian.
an advocate. I think he aligns himself with LGBT causes, and he's not. I mean, you can be Christian and be an ally. So I think it's good for him to do all that.
No, you can't. Which we can actually do a whole episode on, because if you're going to be a Christian, you might as well adhere to the entire Bible, which is a nasty, hateful, vengeful, dangerous book.
Says so the son of a preacher.
And I am the son of a preacher man. Yeah, so you can't pick and choose. So if you hate me because I'm gay...
That is my problem with a lot of religious people, is they pick and choose.
Oh, it's all picking and choosing.
Right,
Every single one.
Selective, okay. Yeah. You can
Wait a minute. So do you find yourself less productive that you're unemployed? Because...
yes and no.
Okay, because I was like that.
So when I had a job and job stress, I'd get off work and I'd be like, nope, not going to do it. Can't do anything. Nope. Nope, ain't getting out of bed, doing nothing. And now that because I'm like, I have to work in 16 hours. I can't do anything. I need to rest up. Now that I'm jobless, you can find my resume on letstalkaboutgaystuff.com and every gay bathhouse.
That's a different type of job you're applying for.
I heard our sister podcast
that's
needs
a
an
hand
intern. Just saying.
It's a hand job.
I heard they have to cook dinner.
But
so now I'm
like,
so I can let me sweep, and then I sweep, and then I get exhausted, and I take a 4-hour nap.
Yeah.
And then I get up and I clean out the fridge, but there's nothing in my fridge since I moved in, so that makes it easy. So I'm like, oh God, I deserve a nap, and I take a nap, and then I get up and it's 8, so I'm like, might as well go to bed.
That's how I am. Like when I was unemployed, I was like, I can do that tomorrow. I can do that tomorrow. So I never like did anything. Whereas like now that I'm working again, it's like I got to be on my shit, right? Because it's like got all this responsibility. It's like you can't let it go.
I'm taking a month off
That's good.
to like
Regroup.
recalibrate,
Yeah,
regroup.
you need
I'm
it.
gonna go to Key West in 2 weeks, week and a half, 2 weeks. And then when I come back, I'm gonna be like, all right, I don't want to be homeless, so I might as well get a job, because really that's the only reason why I want money, is to not be homeless.
You could make
Right.
something out of the box. You do have an interior design background, so I think you could make a refrigerator
Oh,
box
listen to
look really
this. This
nicely.
is very sad. So I think because I have a Google number, I get solicitors all day calling me. So a random Houston number, and normally they're from Louisiana because I have a Louisiana number. Today, a random Houston number called 6 times. I never answered it. On the 6th time, I answered and said, "Why do you keep calling me?" And she said, "Is this Kendall Satcher? My friend Lucy," who was a former client of mine when I was interior decorator that I loved, recommended you and thought you could help me decorate my home. I got flooded. I need my entire house decorated. And I had just answered the phone like, "Why do you keep calling me?" I said, "Oh, I'm sorry." And I had to backtrack. Anyway, I turned her down because I have so many naps to catch
You
up
do,
on.
yeah.
Good
You
for you.
know?
Yeah,
You're like,
it's-
in a
So,
month,
but I
I'm like,
recommended
whatever.
her to a good person.
Any other announcements though this week? Because I feel like there was a big social media announcement that happened this week.
Was there?
What are you saying?
Someone joined Twitter.
Oh, I joined Twitter. I have 2
You
followers.
did? Now I'm the only one
Mhm.
that's not on Twitter.
Time to get
Yeah,
on
but I'm
Twitter.
about to get off.
You are.
Why?
I have no followers for one. I just don't understand how it works.
You don't get followers automatically. You have to go.
I know,
you have
but
to
it's
for it.
work.
Post stuff.
It's just work. It's a
Maybe
lot of
once
work.
you get a job, you'll have energy to tweet.
Like, I feel like
I don't have
Twitter's
time
not a
for
good
it.
place for you. It's I think I texted you. It's like being
No,
in the
you used
town
to say
square.
it was the perfect place for me.
Well, now it's like, well, you get a lot of news, but it's like now because of Trump, it's like being in. I feel like the town square, old school, or
The
like
town
being,
whore.
or being in the commons area of a university where you have all these people yelling and protesting and whatnot. Like that's what's happening, but no one's listening. They're
Okay.
just protesting on their stoops, yelling at each other, and not paying attention. And I think that's kind of that's Twitter to me. Like everyone yells.
So
at each
catch
other.
me when you can find me, because I'm peace out.
He's gonna deactivate that
I'm
account.
getting tired.
Already. Your 2 followers exhaust you.
This is a lot. So okay, so let's talk about gay stuff, guys. Woo! Yeah.
Woo!
Let's talk about.
Let's talk about gay
I
stuff.
thought we were.
Okay, well, I talk about the topics
I'm just
because this
kidding.
week we're gonna talk about a lot. We're talking about the week of June 30th to July 6th. So things happened this week. Frida Kahlo was born.
Yes.
So the A League of Their Own came out, and the 4th of July is happening this week. So a lot of big events. So we'll dive into that. Before we dive into that, we will give a word out to our sponsors, and we'd like to thank our sponsor, Economy Works, which is a freelance talent network that connects professionals with project work. If you're a company that needs help with writing job descriptions, conducting market analysis, managing your social media platforms, Economy Works has an extensive talent network of freelance professionals ready to help you do more with less. Economy Works. When we work, the economy works. And you can find Economy Works at economyworks.com.
All right.
Okay. So I need a caveat, right? Because we always thank our caterer, the intern, right? Spencer, who has done an amazing job of cooking us some pulled pork tonight. And the wine has, I think we get started with the beverages a little earlier than normal because I feel like we're
Tuesday.
We're a little loose
Tuesday.
today.
I feel just
so,
normal. I feel
yeah,
great.
so I think folks will
feel sober.
appreciate that. But here we go. So Kendall, you want to talk about?
Well, first of all, I have a question, and
Please.
perhaps the gay question of our times.
Give it to us.
What's your favorite Madonna song? You should not be pausing.
No, I was gonna let Tony answer first.
You can go. I have a lot of them.
Oh, I do too.
Okay, good. So
So-
there's so many.
I don't really. I don't really have a favorite.
No,
I mean,
come on. You have to have a
Thomas,
favorite.
okay, what's yours?
So
True Blue was like the first. I remember like in the '80s, I heard that. And I was like, oh my god, that was the first song I ever heard of hers.
Hung Up.
I like that.
There was another song on. I'm drawing a blank. It can't be my favorite, but there's another song on that album, Hung Up. It's the second track. after Hung Up.
Goes by.
No, Hung Up has been my favorite, but I started listening to that album that Hung Up was on, I think Celebration. Second track, amazing. That was been my marathon training for a while. Another one is Vogue, obviously a great one, and Burning Up. I love that video. Like it's
I
so
thought it was
80s.
Lucky Star.
Lucky Star, yes, Lucky Star too.
Which
Say
I heard
goodbye.
that they changed to Lucky Scar because she's had so many plastic surgeries.
Lucky
You
Star.
made me my lucky
But-
star.
You said you like all of the
Yeah,
songs.
the ones say goodbye.
Oh, say
That's a good one.
goodbye.
Yeah.
Okay, so Vogue is my favorite.
Is it?
Bar none. Second favorite that I also very much love, and we talked about this last week, and y'all were like, why? What? Is This Used to Be My Playground?
Oh, say I had never even heard that song until last week.
Used to be my
Oh, I remember that. I used to watch that on MTV.
It's just very
This was the one
sad,
the video
and
where
her
the
voice
pages
sounds really good, yeah.
the pages are flipping.
But that is the song from A League of Their Own that Madonna starred in. And I remember my aunt took me to that. I would have been 9 years old at the time. It was not appropriate probably for a 9-year-old. But she always took me to.
But my mom was always like, we could watch
Inappropriate.
rated R movies any age, because she was like, you're gonna learn it anyway.
Truth.
Well,
but
have
he
y'all
was
seen
he
A
was
League of Their
preacher's
Own?
kid.
Yes.
Yeah. That long peep.
Oh, you have seen it?
Yeah.
That
Rosie
long peep
O'Donnell?
scene with Tom Hanks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, it's one of my favorite movies,
Yeah.
period. And
So, League of Their Own came out what year?
it came out July 1st, 1992.
All right.
Okay, I was
Gina
9 years
Davis.
old. I remember getting Milk Duds, not because I wanted them, but because someone bought them for me.
Can we take a side
Do you
note
hate
right
Milk
quick?
Duds?
Yes.
True Blue came out the same day.
They taste like tumors.
Get
And
out.
they have the
Yeah, there
texture
you
of
go.
tumors. Milk
Different
Duds.
year, but same
Yeah.
day. All right. So, A League of Their Own.
That's how I knew I was gay. True Blue came on. I started dancing, and I was like, okay.
So you had Milk Duds in your pants.
Yeah,
Like you
no,
pooped your
Milk
pants?
Duds. Someone bought Milk Duds for me.
Like,
This is way off topic, but to me, they're like little tumors that you have to eat, chocolate-covered tumors.
They
That are
stick
like,
to your teeth.
ew, and just the texture and all that. It's like
No.
bladder cancer in your mouth. But anyway, that did not ruin the movie for me.
I think you have to wear a ribbon now for that.
So, okay, why was it one of my favorite movies? Let's see. First of all, it was
That was probably the
very-
first time I remember seeing Rosie O'Donnell, I think, was in that
Yes.
movie. Yeah.
I remember her being famous at the time, but I
You
didn't know
mean the
why.
Queen of
And she
Kindness?
was.
And I feel that was before she was super butch and lesbian. She was
No, she was super butch playing a baseball player. in
Well,
that
she
movie.
was, but I mean, not as butch as she is now. I feel now she's militant, but
Well, back then she was just like a jaunty little tomboy. Is
Yeah.
what you're saying? She was like a little league player with a bad wig. Okay, so the movie was about. It was a fictionalized version of something that is true,
Oh, it
which
was.
is like in 1943 to 1954. There was what was called the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League, which was a real thing, because during World War II there were so many people, so many men drafted that could have played in professional baseball or that could have been fans, that there was like no one else. So these guys that owned baseball teams needed to make money, so they were like, well, why not have a female league? And let's just go about it a completely different way. Like, women aren't being drafted, and we could really sexualize them and make them kind of like the stars of this new baseball league.
wow, that's crazy. I didn't know.
Yeah. So the characters of like, so Gina Davis was in it, Rosie O'Donnell.
Yep.
Tom Hanks played a
coach.
sexist, drunk, yet still hot baseball manager in it.
Can we pause there for a bit? Tom Hanks, hot.
I agree.
He was in Hooch. Is that what it's called?
Turner
Where-
and Hooch.
Not a curly hair fan.
The one is
With
it
the
Turner and
dog?
Hooch with the dog?
Yeah.
Yes, where he was trying to wash the dog and
Oh, in
his
his
little
underwear.
tight,
Was that- I was
tight
gonna say, was it
underwear.
his underwear.
That's gay
why.
history right there. That was actually the second Stonewall.
Mark that.
I was like, when was that? So I could, yeah.
So he
got
was
that
in that, and first of
VPL.
all, Gina Davis, to me, that was her best role ever.
She was good in that movie because she and her sister, were fighting, and
What else was Gina Davis in?
she was in a few things back then.
Beetlejuice.
Was she? Who was
She
in
got-
Thelma and Louise?
She
Was
got
in-
an Oscar
Thelma and Louise,
for.
Oh well, come on! You see Thelma and Louise. If she was in Thelma and Louise, that was
Yeah, but Beetlejuice was like a personal favorite.
All right.
I had it taped off the TV, and I loved.
You put your videotape in and record.
Yes.
That's
And
the
I
only way
deleted
Tony
the-
watched TV until he was 10 years old. So
Oh, he went to a neighbor's house.
bless it.
what's her name? Winona Ryder. Winona Ryder is like the
Billie Eilish of
who's young little. Who is
Such a
she?
good
What's
sing.
the young actress of 2019? The interesting part after researching this is not so much about the movie, which I love, and I can go on and on about. Which, first of all, is how Rosie O'Donnell and Madonna became best friends briefly. I'd say
was
for
about
about
to say
10
that.
years.
I can't
'cause they were
imagine
the
them being
same.
very good friends. Yeah, because I feel they're
No,
both.
Well, they
were.
bonded because they both had moms die at a very young age.
But I just feel they're both such strong personalities. I can't imagine. them
Very,
being
and Rosie
friends
is a little.
I
She's a
remember
little cray-cray,
I
yeah.
remember
It's like
watching-
very volatile.
I remember watching them on Arsenio Hall, like one episode, like back in the '90s when they were best friends. and
Or
they
was
were
it
talking-
David Letterman? You sure?
No, I remember. Well, maybe they did David, but I remember Arsenio, and they were getting pretty racy. And I think one of them was like, "My dad's watching," and I'm like, "Look, my mom's now. Apparently, my mom's listening to this episode now, or these episodes,
Mom.
which is surprising."
Well, their moms weren't listening.
their mom. Awkward.
Too soon.
My mom listens. Thank you, Mom. Hi,
Oh,
Mom.
Yolanda.
So they were best friends, and then what happened?
Yeah, they were best friends off the show. But Madonna, okay, she's been dragged a lot for her bad acting. To me, she was really good in that. All the Way May, Mortabetto, I think it was what her name was. You remember her, right?
It's been a long time.
And she
since I've
was
seen
like the slutty,
it. Yeah.
would sleep with anyone. That's why they called her All the Way May. I thought she was really good, but the chemistry between her and Rosie O'Donnell was good. Like, to me, they were the stars of the show, although Gina Davis was amazing. But if you watch that show, a lot of it is true to fact. I mean, they fictionalized the characters, but what the movie was based on were these women that were picked. They had a tryout, but they were picked because they were scared all the owners of the Major League Baseball teams were scared that they were going to have to go under, and because all the men that would normally play and watch baseball were off at the war. So they had all these women try out and had a league for, it was 1943 to 54.
That's a long time.
Which, to me, it's very interesting if you think about it, because it's groundbreaking for women to be in like these athletic, strong, competitive roles. However, they forced them to, they were required to wear makeup.
Yeah.
Their uniforms were like short skirts with
Yeah.
little short satin shorts underneath them. They had curfews. Each team had a chaperone.
The guys had none of that, though, right? Major League Baseball players.
They had rules, but it wasn't to make them like preserved
Be a
for
model.
Yeah,
for
and
the
yeah.
idolization of men.
Yeah.
They
They
there
weren't
not
allowed
for-
to have short hair. In fact, one of them got kicked out because she got a haircut. They weren't allowed to drink or smoke in public,
Like they were
and they were
actresses.
required to wear makeup. They had to be sex
Yeah.
singles.
Yeah.
se-
Yeah,
sex
because I feel
symbols.
like in male sports they largely are chosen for their ability.
ability,
Yeah,
yeah.
athletic ability.
Well, so many of these girls, first of all, they tried out because they played baseball. These were like baseball playing girls. In fact, the first female baseball team was in 1866.
Oh wow.
So if you're playing baseball as a woman in the 1940s, you're already like breaking ground to
Yeah.
me. Probably lesbian. We won't go there.
Exactly. Thank you.
But you might be a little rough around the edges. So the baseball league, this
Didn't some of them
all-American
chew in the movie?
girl baseball team required them to go to charm school every week. So they had to go and learn to have like good hygiene and to be feminine. And they had to learn. They were given makeup kits to always look feminine. They were required to have like a full face of makeup.
That was not in the movie, was it?
Yes, it was in the movie, but it wasn't explicitly. It was shown in the
Like
movie.
in the background.
I mean, they were always on, but I just feel that was like Hollywood. Like you weren't gonna put those.
Yeah.
That part was true.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Makeup in the 40s is just like lipstick and some eyeshadow.
So they had a full face of makeup because they were given makeup kits, basically. But to me, it's very interesting because they were both groundbreakers and they were having to perpetuate stereotypes.
Yeah.
And it's that whole kind of balance of 2 steps forward, 1 steps back,
Yeah.
kind of. Maybe that's not the best analogy.
No, but I do think that's kind of
we're breaking ground while we're also
yeah, in
adhering to
other
the
ways
culture at the
throughout
same
time,
time.
like women have had to face the same thing. I feel where it's kind of like they'll make strides, but it's still I don't know. I feel even with the Me Too movement, like it raised awareness, but I mean, in some places, I don't think it's really changed that much.
Corporate America.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there's so many instances of that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I agree. I mean, it's
So a short aside on that's not gay related. I just watched the best miniseries I've ever watched and will ever watch.
what was it?
When They See Us, I think is what it's called, about the Central
What is
Park
that
5.
about?
Okay, it's about the Central Park 5 who are wrongly convicted of raping a white woman in New
Right,
York in
yeah.
1989, these teenagers. And it just snowballed. So they were forced to confess, coerced into confessing, and went to prison. And then finally, in 2002, 13 years later, someone admitted to raping these women. Anyway, how did I get to this? I think what the point is, some things change and some things have yet to change.
Yeah.
So here we are in 2019. Women are still objectified just like they were in A League of Their Own. And women are having to work within the confines. I think Hillary Clinton, for example, and all these women running for president today have to think about what kind of clothes they're putting on and what their makeup says about them. Far more than am I going to wear a black suit or a blue
and I
suit?
remember, I can't remember if it was before the 2008 or the 2016 election, but when Hillary, she was dubbed as, she's no emotion, she's just kind of a machine, whatever. And then it was right before the New Hampshire primary. She was having like tea with a bunch of people in the morning before the polls opened or whatever. And somebody was asking her something, and she was saying how important the election was to her, and she kind of had it teared up. Yeah, she teared up. And everyone's like, oh, my God, is she too emotional for this job? Whereas I feel like you were just saying...
Yeah, she won. That made her win New Hampshire. So it is like a balance. They wanted to see her as not a robot. But it's kind of like you can't win or lose,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, whereas I feel men are not held to that.
Well, had a man teared up, though.
It would have showed, he's sensitive, not like...
No, I think it would have destroyed him. Just like it destroyed Muskie. Muskie was a guy that was running, I think, for vice president in the 70s. You might want to Wikipedia this on your own. America and all our international listeners. But Muskie cried during an interview, and it just torpedoes.
Teared up?
Cried.
Because I feel
here's the thing, though, and it goes...
But she just teared up.
He cried, and they said he was a basket case, and he was suicidal, and all these things because it made him look feminine, which is the weakest possible thing you can be. Which is very sad, because all growing up, I'm 36, and all growing up, even to this day, basically, women are too emotional to be president, is what I hear. Yet women. The prisons are filled with emotional men that got into an argument and shot somebody in the head.
Yeah.
The prisons are filled with emotional men that saw a woman walking down the street and they couldn't suppress their emotions enough not to rape and murder her. The prisons are filled with emotional men that accidentally murdered a gay man because he hit on them. So, in essence, women, I know this to be true, and I wish the world could see it too, that women are the stronger, by far, not even close, of the two genders.
Oh, I agree. I think so.
So this whole concept of women are too emotional is, no, it's the right balance to me. This is why I think women make better leaders, better managers. It's the right level.
I think, too, they're more understanding.
They're more balanced emotionally.
I would agree. I think so.
And we got off this we started all the way more to be though.
Madonna, Madge.
Rights, though, huh? I mean, No League of Their Own. It was a good movie, eh?
Plus,
one of the best.
All that's very interesting because I would have just thought, oh, this is just some fictional movie.
It really makes me think, in doing the research especially, when you read about stuff like this, it's hard not to see, man, women have always had to play a different game. But here's the thing: this baseball league is a white woman story because black women were not allowed to even try out. So this is a white woman's league.
But, that goes to that.
Which is, we're talking about discrimination while not even being allowed to talk about a different discrimination because they weren't even allowed in the game. If that makes sense.
Yep. Yeah.
But what were you going to say?
No, I was going to say that the fact that they were having to be models and baseball players goes to that quote about Ginger Rogers and Fred Astaire. Like, Ginger Rogers did everything Fred Astaire did, but in high heels and backwards.
Backwards in high heels. Yeah.
So it's just like that was the same thing with these women, right? They not only had to play good baseball, right, because people wanted to see that, but they also had
Look
to look beautiful.
Well, in the movie, Tom Hanks told Gina Davis she needed to give more, and Gina Davis was like the best in the league. So she got out there, and when she had to catch she did what she was told. So when she had to catch a home run, she did a split while she caught it, and people were like freaking out. She did a split in her dress and all that. And
so was
people were, she was sexy while she was doing a man's job, basically.
Yeah. So was it League of Their Own? Was it an iconic gay movie, or was it the iconic gay movie? Referencing our friend Josh, who gave us some feedback about Judy Garland, our previous episodes, when he was like,
well, here's my thing.
Let me just finish this. Judy Garland, he's like, was not a gay icon. She was the gay icon. So,
well, to me, yes, he's right about that. But here's a broader question I have for you, Mr. Thomas. Is this even a gay topic? So we have a discussion about. Let's talk about gay
We're having
things.
A staff meeting now. On air.
But no, the question really is, because to me, yes, it is a gay topic because so many gay men love it, but there's the complete absence of homosexuality in it at all. Do you all think this is a gay topic?
Well, so to your point, I kind of get your question, but then it's also like the Golden Girls didn't really have anything to do with being gay, except
well, but they had so many gay topics.
They
were
had
so accepting too, in a time when no one was talking about it.
Yeah, but they had a handful. I would say out of 7 seasons and however many episodes each season, they covered a lot of stuff. There was like a couple where Blanche's brother was gay. There was one about HIV.
Where's the one that she's a lesbian?
Yeah, the lesbian. Yeah, but I would
say the pilot episode.
Right, Had a Gay Cook. Yeah,
Had a Gay Cook.
Yeah. But in general, like when you think of the Golden Girls, the first thing you don't think of is gay.
Yeah, no.
Well, this goes back to what I said, I think, on the last episode is, in the past, you had to take whatever gay scraps you could eat. So if someone gave the clue, like if a Judy Garland gave the clue that, okay, I'm okay with gay people, keep coming to my concerts, then we're like, oh my God, they're amazing. They're an idol to me. And Golden Girls totally, 10 times more than Judy Garland ever did, filled that role because they mentioned in several ways, even though it was a few times over 7 seasons, I think, that they were being inclusive of the gays, thinking of the gays. You could totally tell half the writing staff must have been gay.
But here's why I don't think it was appealing because of, or at least I personally don't find it appealing because, these handful of episodes talk about gay stuff. I don't know. I just think it's very funny, well written. And I think I read something once that said the reason this kind of has such a gay following is because, a lot of gays have family issues, like their family doesn't accept them. And so those girls were each other's family, essentially. And so it's kind of like an idealistic, like gays would love that living situation, right? Where you grow old with your like 3 best friends living together because that's kind of your family.
That was how it was going to be. Like if you're a gay person in the 80s, that was your outlook.
Because I would say like, okay, for A League of Their Own, it doesn't have anything specifically to do with being gay, I guess. But I do feel myself personally, but a lot of gay people really look up to like strong women. And then I also feel like because we face certain struggles, we sympathize with other people that have. And so when you see a movie like that, like there's just something in you that, I don't know. And that's why like I love Tina Turner and I think I love her music, but her story of what she had to overcome in life from her growing up and then Ike and everything. I don't know. I just sympathize with her. And so would anything specifically make her a gay icon? No, but I mean, I feel a lot of gays admire her.
I completely agree with you. Look, we are 3 hosts in our 30s, and I think the reason I bring it up is because it's my own internal dialogue of hearing people that are in their early 20s, mid-20s, and younger saying, look, things are different now. strong women is not gay culture. You know what I mean? Or it's not so hard anymore. What are you talking about? Or even straight people, they're saying, what's the big deal? So I think for me, this is a way to verbalize of like, initially when we brought up, should we talk about A League of Their Own as gay culture? I'm kind of like, okay, how do I make a gay culture spin on that? Yet to me, the entire time, it's completely gay culture. But where are we in 2019? I think actually in the whole grand scheme of things, it's a positive thing that we have to have these discussions because things have been so normalized that it's kind of like sometimes you have to argue for the way you feel. Look, I'm not even old, but I'll say older gay man in their late 30s. Mid 30s. Disgusting. But and that shows how quickly times have changed in the sense of like, look, when I was a 9-year-old gay kid watching A League of Their Own in the movie theater, what movie could I have gone to with my parents and my family? Because I actually with my parents and my aunt and uncle. What movie could I have gone to that would have been accepted to them that they would have allowed me to go to, where gays would have been in the movie at all? Period. None.
Well, and
we would have not been too allowed. So I looked at them as like, okay, these women that aren't generally allowed to do, or they're not in the power structure, they're not in the decision-making body. I identify with them because they're finding a way to get into the conversation, whether they have to wear a short-skirted uniform or not.
Well, and one movie that I really, okay, so I don't think a lot of gays think of this as like kind of a gay iconic movie, but similarly, like I was a kid when I watched it, and I just remember like feeling very passionate about it. Was 9 to 5, and like I feel like this.
Yes.
I just like even as a little kid watching that movie, I was very impassioned. Like, what an asshole that fucking boss is, and they shouldn't have to go through this.
Did
shit.
the sexist boss play the part of the straight bully to you?
No, because I mean, I was so little. I bet I was like kindergarten or something when I watched that movie. I was like really, really young.
It came out in 59.
It came out in like 79.
No, it came out I think in 80.
Well, whatever.
We can say that for another topic.
But yeah, but again, I felt like very strongly about that movie, and I don't think it was anything, like specific. It's just my emotion.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So The League of Their Own was a gay icon.
Yes, to me it was.
Movie,
And was it to
not?
you, Thomas?
Well, I mean, I the reason I thought it was noteworthy is you had two people that were in the gay community affiliates with Madonna and Rosie O'Donnell. So I think, and then
I think anytime there's a lot of strong women, yes.
And then you had the aspect of the strong women. So yeah.
Yes, I think for me the conversation is, I want to analyze for myself even why this is considered, to me and to the three of us, a gay movie, because there was not one gay man in there.
No, but as I said, I feel like anytime there's strong women, we sympathize with their struggle.
And I think that's what we're analyzing, which I think is a very interesting point.
Right.
And even without thinking and analyzing, like that's my
But
emotion.
it also shows that we had no gay role models.
Yeah.
We were looking at strong
even
women.
in the 80s, like Rock Hudson was, like he personally wanted to be closeted, and
but he was never a gay role model. In fact,
no, that's what I'm saying.
He's shunned upon. Yeah.
But
yeah.
Now there's an argument.
But it was hard for anybody gay to really be out and.
But now you look at the commentary that's going on, right? So Taylor Swift just dropped a song, right? That's a gay anthem, right? Has all these LGBT community members and allies in the video.
And she's gotten flack for using us.
Right. And there are lyrics that are ascribed to the LGBT fight, and the article I was reading was written by a gay man saying, "Hey, just stop," right? Because it feels what they equated it to with like having a Wells Fargo tent at the Gay Pride Parade. It's like thank you,
which is why I don't go to gay pride festivals.
We love you being gay, but also we love you taking advantage of our low APR. But anyways, the point being, it's just like his point is, thank you for your anthems, and we appreciate your support. Because, by the way, Taylor Swift was getting beat up for not using her platform to advocate for the LGBT community. Now she is, and she's getting beat up for using it as a marketing ploy. But the point is, he was making is like, it's 2019. We have enough people in the community, LGBT members, that have a voice. So let's let them speak.
But you also
instead of-
need allies because, there are some places where gays don't have a seat at the table.
Totally
and
true.
that's why you need allies. And so I feel like anybody that advocates for us, we shouldn't be anti them.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think this goes to the whole point of why I was asking why this movie could it be considered gay history is because, say if you're 18 and you're having the conversation possibly, and you think you're like a militant gay person, educated gay person, and your argument is now, Taylor Swift, you're not an ally. Stop being so nice to us, basically.
Yeah.
It's the complete opposite of where we were as the host, younger, of like desperately seeking anyone that
Yeah.
wasn't so repulsed by us and scared that it would ruin their career. So we were looking for little clues.
Yeah.
We would assume that a tough woman who took no bullshit and didn't judge would be our friend, that we had to assume, to where now the conversation is, and you read the articles all over the internet right now, is Taylor Swift using the gay community? Maybe, but is that worse than the past when no one would ever want to even touch? It's a complete opposite. And it's the whole conversation of you get your gay rights.
And I don't think that's her intent is to like let me see how I can take advantage
No,
of
I
the
don't
gay
think so.
community.
But
yeah.
we're reluctant. And I remember I think it was about 10 years ago, when Cosmopolitan magazine did what's the number one accessory for a girl to have? A gay best friend. Okay, that's an improvement, yes. Thank you. Much improvement over 1969. But still, it's insulting.
Because it kind of stereotypes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So can we talk about how far we've come? I mean, we
Yes,
talk about-
please. I'm sorry. I went off on a
Listen,
tangent.
We went on all sorts of tangents. That's good though. They were
Good
they were
conversation.
related
Very good
tangents, right? It was
conversation.
not like we went entirely off. But I mean, in the argument of like, is this really a gay topic? I want to talk about a topic that has related to all of us, not just the LGBT community, but the broader community. And again, you could argue as an LGBT.
Hey,
person,
heteros.
Is this
How
just
y'all
really
doing? How
relevant
y'all doing?
for
Hey, Mom.
a podcast that says let's talk about gay stuff? But
Assuming.
let's say, so I read these words to you. Where are they from? When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another.
Declaration of Independence.
Oh, look at you. Queens are so smart. That's why you guys are on here. Because you know stuff, right? Declaration
Then
of
why don't I have a
Independence.
job?
Well, that's because you unemployed.
Just kidding. I like naps.
Fun employed.
Fun employed.
Not
Well,
bad.
if someone would let me nap at work like they do in Europe.
No, he's unemployed. But so that's Declaration of Independence. This is the week that the Declaration of Independence was agreed upon, I guess, because we'll get into a little bit of the nuance of July the 4th. But yes, the Declaration holds the famous words, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." So what led those rebels to get to this point on in July 1776? So, I mean, this was bold statements by again, a group of rebels, the resistance, if you will. Back in the day, back in the 1700s, it was people were traditionally ruled by monarchs or emperors. There was a class system pretty much in place, so you were either born into a privileged position or you were working class, right? And everyone is basically loyal subjects of the king, queen, or emperor. So this conflict with where we led to declaring independence from Britain, the U.S. being us declaring independence, started about 1774. That's when the things started heating up. You had the British Parliament pass a series of laws collectively known as the Intolerable Acts, which basically for the colonists here in what is now known as the U.S., they basically closed the Boston Harbor because this was around. Still, they were reaming from the Boston
Rimming.
massacre. Rimming, yes. You had elected officials, which I thought was interesting. Elected officials were replaced with appointed ones. So the king was done with
Elections.
He said, we're basically gonna take your elected officials and we're gonna put our own people in there. They convened a Congress in June of 1776. They brought a committee of 5 to basically draft what has become known as the Declaration of Independence. Jefferson's the one who's drafted it. John Adams and Ben Franklin made some changes. It was presented to the Second Continental Congress on July 1st. They debated it for a few days, and then on July 2nd, they basically formally agreed to the Declaration of Independence, which I think is a nuanced thing, because we all think July 4th is the day, everyone approved it.
It was a process.
Right.
Yeah.
They formally agreed to the concept of the Declaration of Independence, or declaring independence against Britain, on July 2nd. They spent a couple of days tweaking the Declaration of Independence. They formally adopted the written document on July 4th. And it actually wasn't declared to the public until July 8th, and it wasn't signed until August the 2nd.
And July 4th
of
was
1776.
was saying what specifically
So
to
so July 4th was basically they agreed to the formal So July 2nd,
say we are not taking your bullshit anymore.
well, they said that on July 2nd. So July 2nd was the actual day. So we all celebrate July 4th.
but when
on
we celebrate July 4th, it's saying
Well, what we're honoring on July 4th is the day they agreed to the document that we know, the Declaration of Independence. But they had already decided on July the 2nd.
They were gonna.
But it's
declare
more than a
independence.
document. It's like that's when the document came out. They were saying
Well, the document didn't actually come out until July the 8th.
right, but I'm saying no matter what the date is, what was the document saying? I know what it's saying, but I'm saying it's basically we are divorcing ourselves from you.
Yeah, free
Yeah.
from you. Yeah.
You know,
Well, the
you're
Declaration-
too much trouble than what you're getting.
Well, it was
us,
actually a list of...
or you're abusing us, and we'll handle our own shit.
It was basically a list of grievances against the king. And if you read the full thing, which I read today, and in full, trying to understand the logic behind kind of this movement, and it was more so. It was Declaration of Independence. I mean, and all that is this announcement, right? This group of colonists are going to no longer be affiliated with the government of Britain, or the Kingdom of Britain, but they were basically. I mean, there were a number of grievances they had against the king, some of which related into the document that I mentioned earlier, the acts of the intolerable acts. So they were saying, hey, look, not only are we declaring independence, but here are the reasons why. And so, I mean, you can argue. I mean, to your point on A League of Their Own, is this LGBT related? But we don't get the rights that we have
yes,
today.
it's totally
if
LGBT
we
related.
didn't declare independence back in 1776.
And I have hours of commentary to say about this, and feel free to interrupt me. I probably need it. But
Begin.
I am no more impressed with the fact that we wrote a document, whether it was July 2nd or 4th, and said, we don't like you anymore, than I am impressed with, which I am, okay, I give it to them, yes. However, that's exactly what Rosa Parks did. That's exactly what the Stonewall Queens did.
Yeah.
That's exactly what many people did. They said, I'm not taking your shit anymore.
Yeah.
So let's not act like they are these amazing godlike figures on earth, because that's what we do in this country. This is what white people demand, that you have Christianity, which we all have to adhere to in the United States of America. And then second to that, or in conjunction with that, it's our civil religion, which is George Washington is Jesus, perhaps, and the 12 apostles are our founding fathers, and the flag is basically the cross. And you cannot speak against any of these white folk.
Well, yeah.
You have to gloss over the fact that they were slaveholders. Let's talk about
I do feel when they said all men are created equal, they meant all men like themselves. They didn't mean...
And they literally said men. And do you think they meant women in that?
No, absolutely not.
Do you think they meant anything other than white men?
No, I think they meant people like themselves, like Protestants.
Of course.
White, yeah.
I'm actually
Which is exactly
uncomfortable with the...
Which is exactly why we needed we would need the Equal Rights Amendment. That's why, we have to have,
Not just every person. There's a very,
Yeah.
very narrow...
Oh, I'm not saying women. I'm saying women. That's why women didn't have the right to
course,
vote. Black
yes.
people didn't have the right to vote. Yeah.
And that document that we're talking about is so narrow that it doesn't even cover all white people. That document that speaks to my father. So I know specifically it's white Anglo from Britain, white Anglo Christian straight man.
Period. If I could,
If you don't fall out of any of that, then you're not included in the July 4th
Which is why-
celebrations.
yeah.
If I could, though, I would say that the Declaration of Independence is is actually more inclusive than the Constitution, the original, because the Declaration of Independence, yes, it does say all men are created equal, but it doesn't get to the specific rights. It just says we're entitled to these certain things, or not even entitled, but as people born of God, we are entitled to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, right? And yes, the word is men there, but it's not as again, the Declaration of Independence is more grievances, an expression of grievances against the king. The Constitution is what
For
gets
themselves.
gets more restrictive. Yeah, I mean, yes, for themselves.
For their own, I am a white British subject that has opinions of how I am being treated. They felt besmirched and discriminated against as white people by other white people. It was completely selfish.
And to be honest, I wouldn't even say, I don't know, but I would say they weren't really being discriminated against as much as they weren't making out as financially beneficial as the king.
Oh, it was about money.
Yeah, exactly. So I think
You made a good point
they saw,
because this
you know,
country is all about money.
Yeah, I don't think they were being punished in any way. They weren't enslaved. It was like, wait a minute, there's all this opportunity. The king's getting the lion's share of this. Let's cut him off.
We're not
and
making.
run
We
our own
came here
shit.
to make money, and
Yeah.
you're preventing us from make as much money as we think we were.
Yeah,
gonna make.
it's like all going right. No taxation. It's all going back to
all
him.
about
I
money.
mean, it wasn't
Yeah.
just arbitrarily they weren't making money. I mean, the king.
They
changed
would
the
not
rules.
come here if they had not had the intention of making money.
Well,
Period.
the people that fought the revolution aren't the ones.
And
that
that's the
originally
thing.
came
I mean,
here.
they probably came here as
What do you mean?
I mean, a lot of those, like George Washington, he wasn't born in the UK. He was born in.
Right, I understand.
So my point is, I get it.
But
what
I
you're saying,
feel
But
like
I think
his
their
family was
family came over with the intention of
being
living
like
a
the king,
certain life,
yeah, and being
it
the
was
king's
not
minion
realized.
and
yeah.
having a lot more than most people here, not as much as the king.
I mean, I get the money argument, but the king flipped the script. I mean, when you say, "Hey, I'll let you elect your officials," and then you say, "Just kidding, I don't like what you guys are doing, so I'm going to take your elected officials out, and I'm going to appoint my own people."
Yeah.
British, the soldiers can come and take
Yeah.
your.
Here's
they
the
can
thing.
live in
I
your
feel
space.
like it was a step in the right direction, or like it was one step closer to where we are today. It wasn't ideal, right?
It's one white power over the other.
Yeah.
But it's more than that. You're changing what they're arguing against is we had a certain set of rules, agreed upon contract. You changed the script.
I understand what you're saying. I really do. You make
But
a good
again,
point.
he's just
no,
taking-
you make a good point. What I'm saying is, and I didn't explain this enough. When we talk about America today, we talk about a freaking melting pot and how this is a country based on freedom for all. No, it is not, okay? It was based on a bunch of white people that wanted freedom from their other white overlords that are on a different continent, okay? White down the line. So if you want to talk about any all American history has to come from the standpoint of it was always since day one about white British Christian folk, period. And every single other person that's ever existed in this country, bar none, has had to fight almost to the death many times just to have the equal rights of those original white British Christian colonists or their kids,
This reminds me of
including gay
so
people.
There was a Supreme Court decision that was just ruled this week that I don't know what state it's in, but apparently there's a massive cross
State of disarray.
in like on a highway or something. It's on a government property, and so somebody sued that this is a cross. It shouldn't be on this public property. And the Supreme Court ruled, no, it's secular because it provides some purpose. What is the purpose of it?
I don't know. I just read about that.
Oh yeah, it's also World War I memorial. And so RBG, of course, she wrote the dissent where she's like, this also says it is a World War II or one memorial or whatever, but it also puts the Christian faith above all other faiths because yeah, and so like.
So all World War One.
So we have made progress. But
soldiers were Christian. They had to be Christian, or what?
Yeah. So I do get your point. I get your point.
No, well,
Yeah.
my point is,
You make a good point.
I don't know if it's a good point or a bad point, but I would like to distinguish the Declaration of Independence from the Constitution, which is what governs us today, in which the Constitution is responsible for all the
However,
discrimination.
the same people that wrote the Constitution wrote
Right,
the
right, right,
Declaration.
right,
But
right.
if you read
their
the two
opinions-
documents, they are written differently.
But I agreed.
I agree.
But documents aside, I mean, I agree. Like, this country was founded for a certain group of
Yeah,
people,
totally.
and
Okay, so the hardcore Republicans.
Believe me, I'm not arguing with the
The
white
hardcore
man, the white
Republicans
Christian man.
look at the Constitution and they say we have to be strict constructionalist, meaning what did they mean when they wrote this? And if we agree with the Republicans on that, which I do not, and the liberals say it's a living, breathing document, you have to, bring in other people to that. If you agree with the Republican conservative premise of let's think about what they meant when they said it, then the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution are one of the same because it's the same people with the same mentality.
But here's the thing: is like there are certain things that I think the hardcore patriots that say, "Oh, it's in the Declaration of Independence," but I'm like, that's fine, but that's not the Constitution, which is what governs us, and what ultimately we have to either fight or amend to make sure that we have the rights that we want.
But I kind of agree with Kendall. They were written by the same people relatively closely together.
I grew up.
They were looking out for themselves.
I grew up as a guy who was the brown friend, or you're cute for a Hispanic, or you're my great Latin friend. So I get it. Like in terms of like knowing that. Look, again, I'm not sticking up for the white man. All I'm saying is, as I was reading this document, I'm like, there's a lot of people, a lot of Trumpers.
You did not exist in their mind.
A lot of Trumpers who were like, oh, they cite the Declaration of Independence, and I'm like, but that's not the governing. That's not the governing document.
Yeah.
It's the Constitution. So if I'm gonna amend or try to make changes going forward, I need to look at the Constitution, not the Declaration of Independence. The Declaration of Independence is what started this whole thing, but it's not what the rule of law. So it's not the difference between the Constitution and Declaration of Independence. It's not the rule of law, right? So, I mean, I think it's fair to say, hey, Declaration of Independence doesn't cover all of us. But again, I just hold that as a different document than the Constitution, which the Constitution has a lot of areas for improvement. It's imperfect, but I think the Founding Fathers knew that.
One of my big passions in life, or frustrations, whatever you want to call it, is the lies we tell ourselves as Americans, specifically white Americans. You go through K through 12, and you're lied to so much. It's so much bullshit. It's white history. You're not learning American history. You're learning white, sanitized, romanticized history, and it's disgusting. So where's the conversation about even Native Americans, or the conversation about slavery, the conversations about how we treat any ethnicity in this country is so whitewashed to make us look like the victors and the Christian missionaries that it's not in reality.
What?
And this is why there are so many Republicans, is because they're indoctrinated.
And I do think it's getting worse and worse because, so living in the state of Texas, we have such a massive population, and there's really a couple of states that control, because if Texas says we need this 8th grade history book to read like this, so many other states that are of low population, they just have to say, we'll take the Texas version. And so there's really like a handful of states that dictate all of the textbooks. And so Texas, like, they keep whitewashing.
But they're almost all white teachers.
Yes. And so, like,
with the white point of view.
And so Texas, like, they just keep removing things. And you hear about this all the time in the local news, where the Board of Education removes this and that, and then 8 other states or 12 other states are buying our textbooks. And so I agree. I mean, I remember small town Montana growing up, like, they poised it as America is the greatest country. Like, you should be so fortunate to be born in this country. But it was to the point of, you were almost afraid to even leave the country. It was almost like, okay, Canada, you're not,
What
You-
happens in Canada, Tony?
Yeah. No.
It's the you can't sit with us mentality. Like,
Yeah, it's like America is so great. The
we're up
whole
here and
world
you're
is
down there.
horrible. Yeah, and so I kind of agree. It's like, and now like that's one reason I love to travel because I'm like, America or the world's pretty great. Like, there's a lot of great places.
well, I have a question to one of our hosts. Thomas, a bunch of two white people have been yammering on about this.
I'm like,
I want to
really?
hear
Like,
your.
you're oppressed rights. I'm like,
No,
come
I want to
on.
hear about honestly, your opinion.
What do you? I mean, what do you want to know?
I'm very passionate about, but if passionate's even the right word, I'm pissed off about how brainwashed most people are in this country about how this is the greatest country and we did everything for the good and we were so nice to Indians and oops, we made a mistake with black people, but we were so nice when we made the mistake.
But how would we even point that we were, or portray we were nice to Indians? I mean, we shoved them on these reservations.
Well, because all the stories about the Indians' wars where they were savages. We use words like savages
That was in
and
the Declaration of
barbaric and
Independence
all that kind
it
of
talks
stuff.
about the savage
To where
things.
here we came from Europe to this land, and these people started attacking of it. Well, of course. Why don't you question that?
It's their land.
Why were people attacking you? Like, stop acting like you deserve the entire world, which is a different discussion.
Right.
But Thomas,
But do you
take
wanna
us to
hear it?
church. Yes.
Yeah, no,
Take us back.
I got I don't know. I mean, it's complicated, right? I mean, the United States likes to. Well, this is what I was going to ask you guys. I mean, there's a lot. You guys, for being the white privileged males that you are airing a lot of grievances. Why?
Well, and here's my thing. I don't agree with the system in a lot of ways, but I will say I've benefited from the system. I mean, the thing is, I'm gay, and on a superficial level, to a certain point, I can hide that, like in job interviews and stuff like that. Whereas if I was black or whatever, and I'd say, you take the gay thing aside, I am, I was born, pretty poor or whatever, but aside from that, I've had a lot of opportunities that a black person, Hispanic person, a very flamboyant gay person that's like, I'm not going to hide it one bit, has afforded. I feel I look the part. I'm just very average white male.
You're an engineer.
No,
and
you're a queen.
boring.
Thank you. Well, as soon as I open my mouth, but before I open my mouth. Yeah. No comment on
But-
opening my mouth.
So keep your mouth. Well, actually, it's Pride Weekend.
Well,
You
I
open
benefit
your
from
mouth
my-
as much as you want.
Ooh.
I benefit.
Whoa!
I benefit from my whiteness, and I'm also pissed off about it at the same time. I really am, because I have so many advantages for being white. In the back of my mind, I'm always thinking, are you going to be okay with me? I'm gay. You know what I mean? Yet I'm a white gay man.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not the same.
Yeah. And actually,
But why should we even have this conversation?
it brings me back to
Why does any of it matter at all? Because, let's bring it back to the Constitution. None of this shit ever. Do you think anyone put pen to paper on that Constitution cared about anyone other than British? They were all British colonists, as the alcohol kicks
No,
in.
I think it was written for the white males in
Of
power.
course.
Yeah.
So the conversations that we have, that this country is a melting pot, or this country cares so much, or we have better values or morals. No, that is bullshit. If anything, we have less. Okay? We have far less than many other countries. This is a country based upon.
This is where the conservatives.
Wait, you think
get
you have
really
far
mad.
less what?
I mean, to say that we have far less than a lot of
morals
other countries. Come
and
on.
values. Yes.
I'm not going to say we're perfect. I mean, if we talk about nuclear arms, like we're the only ones who've dropped an atomic bomb on someone. Like
Yeah.
that's
okay,
legit,
so
right?
you're
But I'm agreeing with you to some extent. But I'm like, do you think we're worse than Nigeria, than China, than Russia?
Let me ask this.
Venezuela, like,
And let me ask it in recent terms. Where were our morals during the Iraq War?
Mm.
Where were
are
our
they now with
morals
the whole-
during the Afghanistan War?
Where are they now with the whole refugee or immigration.
Where
thing
are
on the
our
border.
morals when people from very disadvantaged, war-torn countries come over here, breach a wall, which is not here to kill us. They're here to have the same advantages of us, and we say, "Get the fuck out of here."
And let's face it, they're here to work Trump's casinos, where he.
Where
fucking
is the
wouldn't make his most-
Christianity
yeah.
in that?
Well,
Where are the morals when we, as recently as
all right, I think
the
you're
60s,
adopting your dad's preacher-esque like I mean it's fair, but at some point it's like yes, no, I don't think we to hold us to being perfect, the United States being perfect. I think
nope, not perfect. I'm not talking about perfect. I'm saying many white people, especially white Republicans, say we are the greatest country on earth. That's really what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
because
I mean,
July 4th, honestly, is a celebration of we are the greatest. It's not a celebration of we declared independence from Britain. That's not it. That's not what it's been for well over 100 years. It's a declaration of we are the greatest people on earth. And there's something very dangerous about that. Very, very dangerous. That leads into Trumpism.
I honestly feel like, after traveling a lot of places in the world, I do feel like that kind of also has the mindset of we're the greatest and we're entitled. I honestly think Americans feel entitled. And here's what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Americans, overall, we're a pretty rich country. And I think Americans think I should be able to down 5 cheeseburgers and Diet Cokes a day.
America.
And if I weigh 400 pounds and have medical problems,
it's my right.
then I should be taken care of medically. And it's like, well, most other countries promote, why don't you eat a salad once in a while? Like, I do feel like in that way.
European countries, maybe.
Well, here's the thing, though. I mean,
No, but I mean, a lot of other countries are healthy. I don't know. I just feel like we have this sense that we're the greatest country. And I feel in a way Americans feel entitled.
I feel like
there is no greatest country.
No, I feel like we've got a lot of good qualities about America. We're
Yes,
able
I agree.
to.
No, I agree.
We're gonna walk around this weekend wearing shirts that say "Let's
Right.
talk about gay stuff."
And
Lots of great,
yeah.
lots of amazing,
it's imperfect.
great things about our country.
Yeah.
That's not the discussion.
And
the
I do feel
discussion
like-
is we are the greatest, bar none, which we've all grown up with. Everyone here in this room, everyone living in this country today has been told and brainwashed that this is the greatest country that will ever be on the history of the United States. I mean, in the history of the world. No. There's great things about many countries.
I feel like it'll be interesting to see what the kids grow. Like I have nephews that are 3 and 5. How they grow up thinking about America, because now they're growing up in a time where President Trump is in charge, right? Whereas we grew up in the Reagan era and in Bush, and so it was different. They were aspiring to be something different. It looked towards the future, and by virtue of the MAGA, again, it's going back.
I think there'll be more pro-American.
No, I think it'll be different. I mean,
I think it depends where you're
there's
from.
a lot of animosity against Trump that I haven't. Even though people didn't like Reagan and they didn't like Bush or Senior or Junior, like it wasn't. I mean, there were, in my adult recollection, people were hating on W, but Trump, like I heard today on the radio, it was a desperation. So.
That's why I feel like it's bifurcated now. I feel like in certain areas, you're going to continue to think, oh my God, no, this is like getting greater. And places you're like, this is horrible for America. I feel it's like the country isn't moving in one direction.
So I think we've had a lengthy discussion on
and so I would
politics.
say, kind of going back to the Declaration of Independence, which kind of started this, definitely not ideal, and it was for a certain group, but it was one step that moved us to where we are today. And again, we're not...
Well, I'll be honest right here, right now. I'm pissed about the whole legacy of July 4th, and because we're lying to ourselves. How does one country lie to themselves for hundreds of years? Who does July 4th benefit? Who? If you have a vagina, it doesn't. If you are attracted to men, it does not. If you are anyone other than British, it does not.
But I think it was...
Period. Blah. You know who made that a reality? Or anyone who considers themselves liberals. So there have been Hispanic people that fought in riots, been beaten down, gays been beaten down, blacks been beaten down, women who have marched and lied to their many times alcoholic husbands, and said, please, 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 can I please have just a little bit of the rights you have? A little bit of the rights. And so when we worship, yes, it's great. It's so great that we broke off. I mean, what did Canada do? Canada is still with United Kingdom. Are they so? To an extent, yes, they are.
No, we were granted our own
They
freedom.
share a passport, but go
We
ahead.
don't share a passport at all.
Well,
We're
you-
a separate country, and they gave us our freedoms, but
They're independent.
It's
18
different.
Canada's in.
It's
but what
different
so,
is what I'm saying.
So what are you, where are you going with like what?
What I'm saying is we like to romanticize the fact that we fought and we were rebels and we were rabble rousers and revolutionaries, and what did that get us? What did that get black people? What did that get
Here's the
Asian
thing. Wait,
people?
wait, wait,
what did
wait,
that
wait.
get women?
I get what you're saying, but you're talking about it from a 2019 view. Well, here's what I would offer, right? Was it perfect in 1776? No. Was it revolutionary for being in 1776? Because how I started the conversation is we were subjects, the citizens were subjects of a king or an emperor. And that's just what you accepted. So to say that you had certain rights as a human being was a leap from where traditional thinking was. And what the Declaration of Independence provided was a framework so that now we can base our rights and freedoms saying there's a document that says we're entitled to this. It would be irresponsible to say this is what they thought at the beginning in 1776.
And you know what?
They didn't think that. But now we can, as a Hispanic, as gay people, we can rely on that document, that in the Constitution, to say this provides us a framework to get freedoms that other people
But you know
other
what,
countries
Thomas?
don't have.
What we don't expound upon that. What we do is we say we peaked at July 4th, 1776. That is the model that we're all adhering to. These were the apostles that we're all trying to be.
Well,
These were the great people. No, absolutely no. Maybe they were the impetus. Maybe they were the beginning.
But I think some people
But they
think
were not
that,
the
not
end all.
all.
yeah,
I mean,
the Trump voters think that. I don't
Yeah,
think
yeah, yeah.
That is
Yeah.
what I'm talking about.
AOC
But you know what? The
and
Trump
Bernie
voters
Sanders-
rule this country.
AOC and
Well,
Bernie Sanders.
Trump voters-
don't agree then.
yeah.
We're arguing against the Trump vote. I am
Right,
arguing
right.
against the
But
Trump voters.
it's like,
But
yeah.
again,
Because they have the power.
the Declaration of Independence and Constitution
I
provides
mean, I guess
us a framework that we can argue and vote against.
Well,
it.
one
Like,
thing that I just thought of too, maybe
and
this.
I personally don't think it was ever written for anyone in this room. Period.
Right, I agree.
Yeah.
But so one thing that I thought of too is, given that they, rebelled because they were like as close to the king as you could get, right? Like they were, as far as like they were going to have whether the king was involved or not more than any other American, and they were like, no, we're going to break free. So they kind of set the precedent for, I'm not taking your bullshit, and so maybe that was inspiration to like future people like Rosa Parks, Stonewall. Like America has a culture of saying, I'm not going to take this shit.
you take it for what it is, right? If
Yeah.
if you treat it as gospel, as the word, then yes.
Rosa
you're gonna
Parks
be,
is George
you're
Washington.
gonna be
What's the difference?
You're going to be failed in law. But the reason Rosa Parks has a I'm not saying the only reason, but the reason she feels comfortable is like, look, this has been done before. There are laws that allow me to do this. She had to fight against it. I'm not saying it was easy, but my point is there was a precedent saying if you guys really espouse white men that everyone's created equal, you look at this Constitution. I think her and the group she was working with say, hey, look, why doesn't that apply to me, right? But without that Declaration of Independence in 1776, we're not where we're sitting today.
I think understand what you're saying. I think your argument is during that time, it's admirable for them to do this.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is the way we worship them in 2019 as if they were godlike fixtures.
But see, that's what I'm saying. Not everybody worships them to that level.
But I get it. You grew up in
Worships
the-
them
This
to that
country
level.
is required to
No,
worship them.
This is a guy growing
Yeah.
up. This is why we have the
No,
mix
no.
that we do. We have Montana.
No, I agree.
Louisiana, right?
Like culturally,
Well, let me say it as a Southern Louisiana man.
Right.
You are required
Oh,
to this is the greatest country that will ever exist.
no, I agree.
On Earth, the founding fathers are godlike people. Okay,
Right.
and you
But
cannot
then-
question. But
But then now that you're an adult, you do question. And that's my thing. Like, I grew up in the same mentality, but now, so I kind of agree with you, but I feel like saying the entire country's one mindset is not.
No, I'm not saying the entire country. I'm saying the majority.
Oh, the majority.
Allah,
Yeah.
hello, we have Trump as president.
And actually,
it doesn't have to be the majority.
I know. It's
It
not even
has
the
to
majority.
be
It's the electoral college
Thank
majority.
you.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so God bless America.
Yes.
This is a good discussion. How about we go move to our next topic?
That was a very interesting discussion.
It was
yes.
a great discussion, but in the spirit of talking about foreigners,
But I have to say another
foreigners and building that wall.
And-
Intern,
Just
please
kidding.
turn off Kendall's mic so we can talk about something
He
else.
hates me,
Thank
but
you.
that's okay. Boop. He doesn't know what to button.
Okay, so let's talk about something very fun, I feel. No, so we're going to talk about Frida. And actually, I'm really excited to talk about this. So
Frida by George Michael.
Yeah, Frida. Frida Kahlo. So I'm pretty sure most of our listeners know who she is. If not, Google her. I guarantee you've seen her.
There was a movie
Love
about
her.
her in the early 2000s starring billionaire Selma Hayek.
Yeah.
She is a billionaire. She married a billionaire. Lucky bitch.
So Frida is very complex. I feel we should talk about her multiple times throughout this while we do this podcast. But what I want to focus on today are two things. One, how she became an artist, because it's actually pretty interesting. And then I want to kind of talk about, she was a very complex individual and kind of how her kind of upbringing in life kind of, I think, molded that. So how she became an artist is pretty interesting. I would have just assumed she's a pretty famous artist, that she was like, oh, I always want to be an artist. That's my life goal, blah, blah. Do you know how she became an artist?
No clue.
No. Okay, so she was interested in art as a kid, whatever, but her dream was to go to medical school. And she was very smart, very ambitious. She was on her way, on track to go to medical school.
What year was she born? About
She was born in 07.
1907.
1907.
Oh my god. Okay, so,
So,
she was,
yeah, in Mexico
To
City.
even think of being in medical school, you're like,
Yeah, and she was in Mexico City, so she's super smart, super ambitious. 18 years old, she's in a major bus accident, and the public bus was wooden, got sideswiped, and a handrail or armrest or something went straight through her. Pretty much, she had major medical problems the rest of her life. But
where did it hit?
it actually went all the way through her, and it came out her vajayjay.
Oh
Yeah.
my god.
Yeah, no. So it pretty much, her one friend said after that bus accident, she basically lived to die. I mean, she was in pain and had tons of medical problems her entire life. So, but
Can we go back to you calling it JJ? Just an aside. So I took a human sexuality course in college, and the professor started first day of class. She's like, "Okay, so what do you call this?" And she pointed to her eyebrows, and we were all like, "Eyebrows." She's then pointed to her elbow. "What do you call this?" We're like, "Elbow." She then pointed to her knees. "What do you call this?" "Knees." And then she pointed to her breasts. "What do you call these?" And everyone was like, and then she's like, no, tell me what you call them. And then you heard all the 20-something, responses, 1920, knockers, hooters, hoo-haws,
What does that mean?
boobs.
What does it mean if you don't call it breasts?
Finally, someone was like, breasts. She's like, why are we scared to call it by its medical name? Just breasts. She's like, what do you call this? And she pointed to her vagina. And people were like, again, shocked. And so this started
Her
spouting
potato.
out all sorts of explicit names. So I always think that, anytime someone calls it a hoo-ha.
Did she
or
give an
vagina-
I was trying
explanation
to be
about
funny.
why? No, did she give an explanation about why people give euphemisms?
Because we're scared of sexuality. I mean, that's
Yeah,
Oh
that's
my
it's
god, I
taboo.
love the word vagina.
But as you were saying, Tony, sorry for this.
Yeah, so she was in this major bus accident at 18, and she had to move home. Her parents had to take care of her. She was bedridden. They didn't know if she'd ever walk again. And so she basically just started sketching and painting out of boredom. They got her a special easel because, she was bedridden. And she thought, well, maybe I will be a medical illustrator because I can't go to medical school. So she started sketching her family. She did self-portraits. and she did a lot of self-portraits. And then a couple of years later, she actually married a very established artist. He was about 20 years older than her. But that's kind of how she became an artist. So it wasn't like a childhood dream or anything like that. It was just she kind of like fell into it, I guess, and then, had talent. And so I thought that was pretty interesting.
Huh.
But, okay, so I kind of want to talk about, she was a very complex individual. And I think her background and her upbringing kind of had a lot to do with, like, how she was molded and why she was the way she was. So when I think of Frida, she's bisexual, feminist.
Wait, how was it confirmed she was bisexual?
Because she had multiple affairs with men and women. And she was open about it.
But how do we know that?
Because these people told us. Like yesterday I interviewed them. Just kidding.
No, for real. My question more so is, there were rumors that she's bisexual?
No, actually, so she and her husband were pretty open.
Okay.
Yeah, and so...
Yeah, that's what I'm asking, because I'm not even...
Well,
barely,
but the thing is, you didn't let me finish, so of course you're... I'm just kidding.
Oh, my God. Well, I thought you went on talking about her feet, her little crippled feet. Go ahead.
Let's not be mean to her. No, so... she was bisexual. She was feminist. She was very political.
Enough about me. Go ahead with Frida.
Right. Well, you're like her twin, basically.
Except for my feet.
Her Siamese twin that was cut off.
Yes. But she, she was androgynous, and she was very Mexican. I feel like when I think of Frida, she's very like, no, but like very, and she was, I'll get to it later, but she was very into her, indigenous Mexican heritage. Like she didn't like the colonial aspect of Mexico. And so I think a lot of it has to do with kind of how she came up. So when she was a kid, she had polio, and she always felt very isolated. She kind of became introverted because of this. And then at 18, she had that bus accident, and it really like kind of brought her to a low point. She, again, felt very isolated. And through all of these hard times, she really bonded with her father. She had like a contentious relationship with her mother. Her mother was very religious, and she didn't agree with that. And so, she and her father became very close. And during these dark times, she also, especially when she started doing the art, she basically said, my art is the way I see the world, not the rosy picture that other people see, not the rosy picture they want to see. And so even when she became a famous artist, and a lot of times her art wouldn't sell because it's not what people wanted, but she's like, this is how I see the world. And so I think she was kind of like that in her, that's why she was kind of open about all this, because, she, like in her art, she was like, this is who I am, take it or leave it. And I think she was that way about her personality and her persona too. It's like, I'm bisexual, I have affairs, I'm masculine, like whatever, just take it or leave it. Right. She was very open about all this. And so I think it's very interesting because, in the 1920s, 30s, 40s, I think it's hard for a lot of people to be bisexual, super, she participated in the Mexican Revolution, she was very, yeah. And so, and she actually told people that she was born in 1910 because that's when the revolution started, because she wanted people to think like, my birth was part of the revolution, it's not just, she was that passionate about it. And so, because of these dark times, I feel she was just very open because she had faced death's door, and her whole life death was around the corner. I mean, she died at 47. She had major medical problems her whole life. And her bond with her father, I think, so I don't know if it was like, this is the way she would have been anyway, or this influenced her, but she was so close to her father, and her father's rehab for getting her not bedridden was become a boxer, get into football. And she was also very into her culture. She was very into her indigenous roots. She told people like she was born in 1910, so she was part of the revolution. And because of that, she had a very traditional Mexican family, which, is like their culture is very machismo. And so, in this culture, men can have affairs. Men can drink heavily. Men can womanize. Men can be aggressive and have fights. Whereas women, they need to be the homemaker. They can't really be drinking. They can't really be, aggressive. They can't be out having an affair. And so she really Frida did, a lot of the masculine characteristics of this culture. She drank a lot of tequila and did drugs, and a lot of it was pain management because she had, but growing up, she would wear her dad's suits for family pictures, and she said cross-dressing made her feel powerful.
She was a lesbian?
No, she was bisexual. So she was married.
Did she have a girlfriend ever?
No, so she was married her whole she got married when she was about 20, and she was married till her death, and they had an open relationship. So he had many affairs, she had many affairs, and she had affairs with men and women. But she did cross dress on occasion, but she was often dressed in women's clothes, and when she was very feminine, right? She had these bright colored dresses. So it's just interesting to me that she was kind of that open about everything, and I think it's because of how she came
So
up.
was her husband the same way? Like, was he also machismo? I mean, because she was exhibiting those.
I don't really know. So her husband, I didn't really do a lot of research on him, but he was 20 years older than her, and she got married.
Nothing's wrong with having a.
Of course not. But he
age
was an artist,
difference.
and he was an established artist, and so they actually traveled the world. So he came to the U.S. and had various exhibitions. She had a very successful exhibition in New York. She has a painting in the Louvre. But so they traveled the world. So I don't know, but just based on that and the fact that he let his wife have open relationships,
Well, I was just
maybe
wondering,
he wasn't
maybe he was he was gay, and so she was his.
No,
beard
it seemed like they were very much just artists. I feel like some artists are just,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so I don't necessarily think they had anything to hide. I think it was like that's what worked for them.
Yeah.
And so they were just open. And I do think it seems like a little bit of what I read was, I think his affairs were with women.
Yeah. Okay.
And hers were with men and women.
I say that because Spencer showed me a clip from SNL that aired last year with Emma Stone, and it was talking about a boy who was sensitive, and it was they have like a Fisher Price toy, and it was a little sensitive boy who liked, instead of footballs and tractors, he liked a wishing well. And he would stare into the wishing well and whatnot, and that's where he reflected and whispered secrets into the wishing well, and so.
Guess what his name was?
And his name was Spencer. And so I was wondering if he was a sensitive type, light in the loafers, if you will.
No, I don't think so. I think they were just artists and everything goes, you know. Yeah. But
Frida's fascinating.
Oh, she's so fascinating, yeah. And I had no idea that she had faced all of these struggles, and yeah.
Her busted legs.
What about that busted unibrow?
I know.
So
and see, that's the thing.
like
She was
5
very
years ago-
androgynous. Yep.
I think we all know a little bit about Frida's art, because 5-6 years ago, I bought one of her calendars to frame, and she had a deer body with she was busted. She had antlers.
We took a break earlier, and we provided Kendall some feedback about the yelling in the mic, and now he's whispering.
Now he's soft talking.
He's like, he's doing the, what is it, ASMR? Like, what's
You can say what you feel.
voice at Kendall. Oh, wow. Now he's just talking. He's talking in signs. So, yes, but Frida, have you seen the movie? You said no.
I have not seen the movie, yeah.
Kendall, you seen Selma?
But I would like to, because I didn't really know anything other than, it's Frida, and I just thought, okay, she's this famous artist, so I would like to know more about her. And I would like to know more about her,
She died for your sins.
She did.
She's the Jesus. No, I the machismo,
Gay Mexican Jesus.
The machismo, culture, resonates with me. I mean, just because I have
Tell us more about
my
it. I wanna
dad,
hear it.
uncles, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
That's what it was. Just what my dad didn't. He was very loyal to my mother. But I had a lot of uncles that, not a lot, but I had one uncle that I'm thinking of in particular, and then maybe a few others that's what they did. They worked. They had a wife and kids, but they also had a side piece on this, and it was well known. The wife knew it.
Yeah.
It was just part of this is what happens.
Ooh. And see, that's what's
I
interesting.
know we're winding down. Go ahead.
No. Oh, so like even in Frida's marriage, like, you know, her husband let her do that. Where that's why I don't think he was very machismo, because he let her have these. Where I feel most machismo men are like,
Oh yeah, you're
you
supposed to stay
even
at
look
home.
at another or a guy looks at you, I'm gonna beat the shit out of somebody.
Her.
Yeah.
Usually her. Like
Yeah.
that's how it goes. Like if a guy looks at her,
Yeah.
at the woman, it's the woman's fault.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
she was
yeah.
looking too pretty.
Yeah.
Like she showed some skin. She served him the meal, but she's, you know, you talk about like some troubled people
Yeah.
earlier. This is why I'm like, you know, we can complain about the Declaration of Independence, but there's certain
Yeah.
cultures where, a woman in Mexico or Venezuela, they're damned if they do and they're damned.
And
if
I
they
do
don't.
think like she was the type that wouldn't take a lot of shit, because she was rebellious in school and she actually got expelled and stuff like that. So she was definitely not like the typical mold. She exhibited a lot of the masculine. I mean, she was feminine in her own right. Like when she wasn't like a lot of her clothing was female, and she was in these beautiful bright dresses. She was an art teacher. You know, she was you know, fighting for social justice during the revolution, stuff like that. So she was feminine, but a lot of her persona, I feel, is more masculine.
Yep.
So it's just interesting that, and I don't know if that was because her dad, she was so close to her dad and she really looked up to him, or that was just kind of innate in her and that's why she was close to her dad, you know?
Yeah. Huh.
It was interesting.
Well, I'm interested in learning
Yeah.
more about her.
But I would say, just in closing, one other comment is, she actually wasn't as famous in her day as she is now. So
Who?
Frida.
Welcome back to the conversation, Kendall.
Well, I started drinking, then I saw a dog, and I started painting
And
it.
so, like, really where she came into, like, the general public awareness was in the 70s during the feminist movement. And it was kind of like, that's when she started gaining traction. Then it was kind of the 90s by the time she was kind of a household name and really like an icon for the Mexican community, the LGBT community, feminism.
By that she'd been passed. By then she'd been passed for how many years? I mean, because
She
said-
died in like 54. So, yeah. So she was dead.
Well, y'all were
20
trying to
years.
take pictures of her in 1960, and she had been dead.
Well, that unibrow still existed, though, huh?
Yes.
All
It's
right.
classic. It's
And-
timeless.
It does not
And
disintegrate.
It
here
is
the
timeless.
queens continue to hit on her poor fashion. But hey, she was ahead of her time, as you noted. Still remarkable
Very
in the
much, yeah.
90s and today. So again, we'll have to learn more about her along the way. So good discussion, ladies. We've lost all sorts of.
We went off
semblance here,
topic, but
and
you know what? I'm still pissed about motherfucking America.
we've lost Kendall's attention. And
As soon as we stop talking about hating America,
I'm
Kendall's
ready
like,
for July
Audi.
5th.
he really does love America. So anyone who's listening
My
out there-
interpretation of America.
All
Get
right.
on board, bitch.
okay. On that note, we're here.
Work where?
Get used to it.
Thank you for listening to our podcast and getting to know us a bit more. If you like what you heard, subscribe to hear future episodes. Visit our website. Let's Talk About Gay Stuff. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Let's Talk About Gay Stuff and on Twitter at Talk Gay Stuff. Also, listen to our sister Queens podcast at Our Spoopy Podcast, available now.